By the age of 30, Johnny Depp had established himself as an actor with an uncanny ability to play the role of an outcast. But thrust into the Hollywood spotlight, Johnny felt increasingly uncomfortable as a celebrity insider, isolated by the attention brought on by stardom. Depp shied away from publicity, went to movie premieres only when he had to, and resisted buying into the trappings of celebrity. The first home he bought wasn't for himself, but for his mom. For Johnny Depp, acting was about the work, not about fame and fortune.
I think he's probably an agent's nightmare, in that he doesn't think commercially.
Johnny really never picks anything easy, and anything less than incredibly time-consuming.
I never had ambition, you know. I really hate that word, and it's so alive, that word, ambition, and it's so much a part of the American kind of, you know, greed, you know, gimme, 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 gimme kind of thing. But I always had a kind of hunger, you know, a drive.
Although his drive had taken him a long way from his small-town roots, Depp still went into his first Lasse Hallström film already having a pretty good idea of what was eating Gilbert Grape.
Johnny was very familiar with this character. The fact that he'd grown up in a small town and sort of felt imprisoned in this place helped a lot in interpreting this character.
What's Eating Gilbert Grape, released in 1993, is the story of a beleaguered young man trapped in a small Iowa town. He is a caretaker to his obese mother and his mentally retarded brother, played by Leonardo DiCaprio.
He's very loyal to the filmmaker and to the story. He really wants to get the story right and tell the story right. In reaching for that, I just love his technique, the low-key approach, the search for you know, honesty and emotional presence in each moment.
Playing a role of such inner emotional complexity impacted Johnny Depp in a very personal way. The question became not what's eating Gilbert Grape, but what was eating Johnny Depp.
That was a hard movie for him. I don't know if he talked about it, but that was a hard movie for him. It was a very emotional movie.
I did notice that he seemed a bit down. He kept more to himself. He didn't really socialize as much.
One of the things that was probably bugging me on Gilbert Grape was the fact that it wasn't really clear on what it was all for, you know. What it was all about, Alfie. You know, just didn't know what it was all about, in a way.
What was clear by the mid-1990s was that Johnny Depp had firmly established himself as a serious movie actor, playing roles opposite some of Hollywood's biggest names. In Don Juan DeMarco, released in 1995, Johnny Depp appeared with Marlon Brando and Faye Dunaway in a story about a psychiatrist who must cure his young patient of his belief that he is the greatest lover in the world.
It's a tribute to him and Marlon, I think, too. They became very close on that, and there was a whole kind of partnership there. And I think that chemistry worked very well.
The on-screen chemistry between Brando and Depp spoke to a deeper off-screen connection, rooted, at least in part, in their shared commitment to Native American rights.
Marlon Brando was an honorable person to the American Indian, where nobody else stood with him and went to the wall with us about the issues. And for him to be friends with Johnny right away says something about the both of them then.
Action.
Depp showed his support when he chose this topic for his 1997 directorial debut. The Brave is the story of a Native American ex-con who gives his life for the sake of his poverty-stricken family.
The Brave for me was about a lot of stuff that I wanted to expose. I drove across America and I saw places like that. I've been on the reservations, you know, where Yeah, these people, they're not given their due. They're not. All that was promised to the Native Americans in the 1800s was all a lie. It was all a big lie.
In fact, Johnny has more than a passing interest in Native American culture. Depp's great-grandmother was of Cherokee descent.
That blood in him is what kind of motivates how he lives, in a way. I think he's in touch with that.
He was very open to my suggestions about the culture, the Indian culture, and we're very sensitive to that. We're very wary if directors don't listen.
The Brave is a dark, disturbing story about a man who sells himself to a snuff filmmaker, played by Marlon Brando, so that after his on-camera murder, his family will be taken care of.
Tell me, are you afraid to die?
How much will I be paid for that?
I'd say $50,000. I'll pay you a third of it right now.
When do you want me back?
Let's say 1 week.
I believe that the story of a young man who wishes to sacrifice his life that his people might live, in a sense, is, in the Indian point of view, honorable sacrifice.
Johnny made some sacrifices of his own to get the picture made.
It really took everything that he had, and he put everything that he had into it.
He put his own money up for that movie, and his performance stands out. It's a tough movie.
The Brave premiered at the 1997 Cannes Film Festival.
What happened was really interesting. I sat down, watched the film with 2,500 people. The audience, they gave the film a standing ovation. Next morning, one of the movie papers just destroyed it. People ran away from the movie at that point. So it was really strange because the reception was beautiful. The next day, panned by the paper, and then everybody was like, shut their doors and was frightened.
I mean, there are other movies that are totally meaningless that have been extremely successful, and so what? Is that success? I think the movie's a success because it's about something.
The experience at Cannes taught Johnny still another lesson on the workings of Hollywood.
It's amazing because essentially people have to hear their opinions. They have to read their opinions because they don't really have one. I hate that sort of mentality. I can't stand it. And that's really what, pretty much what Hollywood is. It's the beast.
Unfortunately, Depp's less-than-glowing reviews for The Brave was only one of many bad experiences with the press. And when we return...
I don't want to know what people think about me. I don't want to know any of that stuff. I want to be completely and totally outside that, just stay ignorant.